I am Great Mother, Holy Spirit, Yin, Divine Mother, Cosmic Womb, Deep Space, the Moon, Dark Matter, the Void, the Black Hole, Hathor, Isis, Diana, Mami Ishtar, Kali, Mammy, and Mother Mary. Hello, welcome to Great Mother Speaks. I'm Tammy Taylor, your Manifestation Muse, and today...
You know, when you're learning an entirely different culture and you don't speak the language, there's a surrender to knowing there's a limitation to how much you're going to actually be able to absorb. Because the nature of learning and the authenticity of integrating the information is compromised. And so as a result, you just make a truce with yourself that I'm going to get out of this what I need to get out of this. And that is the truce that I've made with myself with Vedic astrology. And so I say that because it's timely with this Pisces full moon in Shatabisha Nakshatra. I always remember Shatabisha Nakshatra because Nakshatra, see, there we go. It's different culture, different language, and, you know, struggling to pronounce and everything. But Spirit always gives us what we need. And what I need is to remember the essential elemental truth of these constellations. There are 27 of them. Shatabisha is at the end of Aquarius and the beginning of Pisces. And so we're in a Pisces full moon in both the Western and the Vedic. But it's important in the Vedic to look at the nakshatras, particularly when we are talking about the moon. It's a lunar astrology, and these are lunar-based constellations. I always remember Shatabisha because when I first heard it, it sounded to me like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Now, those of you who are raised in the Baptist tradition like I was, you might recall who they are. They were the three wise brothers who would not bow down to the king of Babylon. And they were rewarded as a result. This is a great planetary fear at this time, to stand in one's truth of their divinity. And this nakshatra is such a powerful one because it speaks to the reward for doing so. And if you recall, you know, they ended up being really high respected officials of Babylon because their God was leading them through all the trials and tribulations of not bowing down to this king. And everybody was like, what? He's going to kill you. He threw them into a fiery furnace. You know, he didn't just throw them in jail, or he didn't just, have a death sentence where they were killed in some, way, that everybody could watch and be, even put on a cross like Jesus Christ. He threw them in a furnace, and Jesus came and walked them out. And so, all of this, we understand as mythology because we are so deep into what Great Mother says is and in translation from the Vedas too, is called, the Sea of Forgetfulness. It is not a judgment or condemnation. We came into this world for a reason. We are under the veil of forgetfulness for a reason. Forgetfulness of what? Of our divinity, in order for us to learn how to use our power. As a good parent, you give your child, a little leash, a little bit at a time as they demonstrate their ability to maintain their lives. As long as they're safe, well, then we can loosen up a little bit and a little bit and a little bit. And that's how we grow. It's the same thing with us, as above, so below. So this nakshatra is all about feeling that power. And we're in an age where we're being so blessed with so many powerful downloads that if you are not in tune with your divinity, it's freaking people out. And so they're using it in different ways. For example, we were talking about an MDT support group about how all of the mass murders and things that are going on, it's really about a confusion that people are having internally. It has nothing to do with the external world. That's our first impulse, is to externalize everything that's happening. Oh, it's because of this, it's because of politics, it's because of that. No, 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 no. All war begins within. And the inner war is, as Great Mother, through the Great Mother Speaks Oracle deck, guides us through a rebirth and a regeneration of our divinity, through the release of MDT identity, the shame, blame, and guilt of the abandonment and abuse of our birth mothers. We have to, as individuals, undergo this internal rebirth. And what is rebirth? Rebirth is a death of the old self. And so just like everything else, instead of sitting with that, we go into addiction, which is just another word for pain avoidance. We go into drug addiction, sex addiction, or just addiction to trying to control others, which the ultimate expression of that is murderous behavior, whether it is through the spoken word or through action, which we can also use as a very powerful, loving tool, action and the spoken word, to uplift and to encourage through the signs and symbols, just as the signs and symbols through this Vedic astrology, whether I understand Hindu or I understand Sanskrit or not, Spirit is going to give me what it needs to give me in order to use me as a vehicle to speak to whoever needs to hear what it's saying. For those who do want to go through this rebirthing process and going through the fire, as Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego did, they had to prove to themselves that they were worthy to rule Babylon. They were just humble believers in God. And that's what is meant by the meek shall inherit the earth. The humility goes through an experience of gaining the wisdom of knowing that it has a value to the world. And that's what this transition from the Piscean age of the Christ consciousness into the Aquarian age, which is about embodying the Christ consciousness as individuals. We live Christ consciousness as individuals. We live what he taught as individuals. In other words, we dance to the beat of our own drum, just like he did. He just showed us an example of how he did it, how he embraced his divinity and believed in his God, despite the, what they call them, the Sadducees, the Pharisees and the Sadducees were against him. The high priests were against him and his teaching of the great Father. And so we are coming into that, and Great Mother, Father God are injecting us and the planet with the power to do it. But if we don't know what we're being injected with, we are interpreting it as fear because we are so filled with fear due to this sea of forgetfulness that we're in, that has got us in this addiction to external manifestation of Great Mother, Father God, as opposed to the internal. So this is all about us connecting with that during this season. The full moon is in Pisces in both the Western and in the Vedic astrology. And as we know, Pisces is the teetering, tottering slope that we walk between delusion and enlightenment, between self-deception and self-awareness. The Leo new moon, Great Mother, did an extended introduction about what this season leading up to January 2020 is all about. So if you want to check that out, there is a link in the information box below. This full moon, Great Mother wants to bring our attention to the Vedic aspect of this season with this full moon in Pisces, in the Vedic and in the Western. Now, what's interesting is that in the Vedic astrology, Neptune, as opposed to in the Western astrology, being in Pisces at this time, creating a great deal of delusionment and difficulty with that dance, with awareness. In the soul astrology, are the cosmic astrology, as opposed to the geocentric, earth-centric ego astrology, that is basically the tropical astrology that's focused on our egoic experience, our ego reaction to life. In the soul astrology, we're actually looking at how, why, when, and for what purpose the soul incarnated. Neptune here is in Aquarius, and so this period of time has to do with what the collective consciousness is undergoing in terms of its internal dance between illusion and awareness around humanity, around what it wants to collectively contribute on a soul level to this transitional phase between the Piscean age and the Aquarian age. This is why this particular period is so intense. So what Great Mother wants to focus on in this introduction to your full moon Pisces reading is the idea that you, from a soul perspective, are looking toward the future at this particular time, or you're looking in the past at this particular time, at yourself, at your experience at this particular time. And you're either saying, wow, I am really living up to my greatest soul potential at this time to free myself from the bondage, from the attachment to forgetfulness of my divinity, forgetfulness of my soul essence, forgetfulness of my birthright to be happy, healthy, and whole. I am releasing myself from that forgetfulness. I'm doing my level best as a conscious being to do that. Or I am overwhelmed by the challenges of doing that. And either way, Great Mother is inviting us to receive the eternal grace and mercy that is available to us, particularly as the planet is experiencing the disorder of mama drama trauma, which this channel focuses on to heal. Mama drama trauma being that condition in which the mother projects unhealed aspects of herself onto the child, causing emotional and or physical trauma. And in cases where she's unwilling, unable, and unavailable, she may have transitioned to heal her own MDT. Loving detachment is necessary for the child to live a happy, healthy, and whole life. In other words, for us to fully embrace our birthright to be happy, healthy, and whole. Living in loving detachment is necessary to do that. So the Great Mother Speaks Oracle deck was channeled for us to have a daily practice of releasing ourselves from that bondage of attachment to the toxic mama experience, the forgetfulness that the drama engenders about our divinity, and the trauma that we experience as a result, the dissociative experience from our soul that keeps us in bondage. So the opportunity this full moon is to, from the tropical perspective, look at the harvest of the year. This has been a very intense year with Saturn and Jupiter in retrograde and the eclipses that we've had in the most powerful in Vedic astrology nodal position of Gemini in the North Node and Sagittarius in the South, because it has to do with that human intelligence of the ego in the North Node evolving through awareness and the release of old attachments to old ways of connecting with the divinity, with that Sagittarius in the South, based on experience. Wisdom is based on experience, what we learn through our own experience, as opposed to the intelligence of Mercury, which rules Gemini, that is based on an ability, an ego ability to figure things out. And so they work well together when understood. But when wisdom is held as the greater virtue, then we actually are evolving. We actually are growing. And so with Sagittarius being in the South Node, conjunct Saturn, conjunct Pluto, we have this opportunity to do a tremendous amount of release of old spiritual beliefs and practices that no longer work for us, such as toxic beliefs about sin, the idea that we are separate from God. That is a very old religious teaching. And it no longer serves us as we move into an Aquarian age that is about being very clear about our divinity. Now, speaking of clarity about divinity, not everyone survives deity initiation. And that is what we're talking about. Let us be clear. We are talking about divinity initiation, an initiation into a conscious ego-soul alignment. So this full moon is an illumination with regard to where you are with that. Great Mother wants you to be very clear about where you are in relationship to that, in relationship to your soul and what your soul wants to do at this particular time about that in your life as it relates to mama drama trauma, the foundation of all relationships in your life. In our relationships, just like Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, who is the poster child of mama drama trauma, each card is based on a scene in the Wizard of Oz. Along that yellow brick road journey, that hero's journey to embracing our divinity, that journey, that rites of passage to deity initiation. Because, of course, when we return home, we return to peace. We return to our true self. So this return to self requires a rebirth. It requires this dark night of the soul, which for us, being mama drama trauma, most of the planet, most people won't admit it. It is a taboo subject. But during the Aquarian age, it will become more and more prominent as an issue to be addressed. There's a reason there's an increase in suicides. There's a reason there's an increase in drug addiction. All of these are just forms of pain avoidance. And this is what is meant by not everyone survives deity initiation. Many people do not believe because they do not know that they're divine beings. They think because of the attachment to forgetfulness, attachment to the illusion of this experience, and we incarnate into this material experience in order to have the veil over our eyes, as Dorothy had the veil, believing that Oz was the god of all gods, until she took the witch's broom, which taught her that she had the power to take her power back from an idea of an externalized God. Great Mother, Father, God is us, within us. And this is a scary thought for a culture from a planetary collective consciousness that believes it's separate from God. That's a scary thought, let alone something to integrate into one's consciousness. So we are what the Christ called a peculiar people. We know that we are in this world, but we are not of it. And so this is a little spoken word that is payment and homage to what Great Mother is inviting us to do in terms of looking at this placement of where we are. Consciousness ascends and consciousness, it forgets, we evolve, the Kundalini awakens and the Kundalini goes to sleep. We are living, breathing beings who we have periods of active conscious awareness and growth and periods of rest and foulness, just like the soil. So that's why we learn first and foremost about our divinity identity, that we are dearly loved children of the great Mother, Father, God, who are never judged, condemned for that. Because just like the seasons, that's just like saying, in the Northern Hemisphere, we're, slowly moving into fall, although the planet is heating up and is on fire and all of these things that are happening because of our forgetfulness. There's no judgment or condemnation. There is awareness. There's a difference. And it's a very important distinction to make. There is awareness that what we're doing is either fortifying the experience of our divinity or it is detracting from it. And we get to make the free will choice. Some say, and particularly in Vedic astrology, that we do not have free will. But it is said within the context, I would hope, I understand the belief of no free will within the context of we are given the choice in our experience. We get to experience making choices so that we know if we choose to go into the direction of what does not reinforce our divinity, such as burning down the rainforest and therefore setting our entire environmental equilibrium off, is not beneficial. We get to experience that so that we learn it. Again, wisdom being the hallmark of divinity. We learn through experience, which is why we're not judged or condemned. It doesn't make sense to believe in a God that judges and condemns you for coming here to have experience. How can you have experience if you don't get to choose? So in this life, we do get to choose. It's just that in the arc of eternity, there is just one consciousness, and that is the consciousness of love. And that is what they're talking about. And since it's difficult for most people to even grasp what is being discussed here, they just go ahead and jump to the end of the story that there is no free will. It's all, love. But step by step, yes, within lifetimes, that's how we gain experience. That's how we gain wisdom about what love is. We have to learn it through experience. Great Mother's inviting us to recognize at this particular stage in our lives with this Pisces full moon in both the Western and in the Vedic, what we are choosing. Are we choosing to go away from our divinity, feeling and experiencing being dearly loved, never judged or condemned or left alone? Or are we continuing to engender those experiences such as mama drama trauma, in particular here with your full moon reading, that you are detracting from that experience? Which one is it? Because within this season, there are a lot of transits that are being discussed. And one specifically with the Vedic, just like Great Mother in her extended introduction, with the Pluto-Saturn conjunction in the Western astrology that has captured the imagination of astrologers. In the Vedic astrology, we are having the Gemini move from Purnavasu into Ardra Nakshatra. And we're having Sagittarius move into Mula, which is the center of the cosmos. It's the nakshatra that is the center. It's the heart, the cosmic heart of the cosmos. It is Great Mother. It is the primordial womb. And so the primordial womb is going to receive for us what we are willing, ready, and able to release. And so that's why Great Mother is wanting us to know at this particular time, those of us who are working with releasing mama drama trauma, the blame, shame, and guilt, feeling the cause, feeling that we can cure, feeling that somehow we can control mama drama trauma, and releasing all of that dysfunction is going to be tremendously supported, especially as we have in November, Jupiter moving into Sagittarius as well. So lots and lots of cosmic support for us. The spoken word that I would like to share with you is this: child, mother, father, teacher, parent, scholar, a pence, a pound, a dollar, a month, a day, an hour. Years, decades, scores. Work, hobbies, chores. A house, a window, a door. Beginning, middle, end. Whole, half, empty. Physiology, biology, anatomy. Plant, seed, soil. Sun, rain, earth. The planetary galactic search. Olmec, Toltec, Aztec, Cholula, Pyramid, Sphinx. Ego, soul, spirit, the initiation, communication, conduit. Maya 2012, the whole world, into it. Crazy, sane, normal, casual, everyday, formal. The known, unknown, and unknowable. Mystery, intrigue, certainty. Past, present, future. Galaxy, planet, light year. Stellar procession, sacred. Man, woman, offspring. Bound, insecure, free. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. Night, noon, morning. Sacred, science, faith. Time, space, location. You are blessed, wanted, needed. Breathe, inspire, intention, purpose, reason. Cave, hut, house. Master, worker, slave. Moon, stars, sun. 3, 2, 1. Eternal divine self. Present, future, past. First, late, last. Dawn, day, sunset. And these are your Pisces. Shatabisha full moon readings. Pisces moon sign. In your shadow position, what you may not be aware of is that you are still really in the pit of fire yourself, of purification. You are purifying MDT, shame, blame, and guilt with the birth mother card in the lower left-hand corner. It's a crescent moon card. And so you're planting the seeds, and you have been planting the seeds over the last year of this conscious effort to reground yourself in a sense of needing to release those energies. And presently, there's a lot of upset and there's a lot of rage about it. We see in the segment card above it, which is the natural progression of acknowledging MDT, is that there's a great deal of rage about it once we do. That's why so many people live in denial about MDT, is that once you accept it, then you have to go through the emotions. You know, it's an emotional purification. It's an internal purification, which is why Great Mother speaks to us to heal it. It cannot be externally healed. We try to do that, and it always fails. That's where the Al-Anon principles of we didn't cause it, we cannot cure it, and we cannot control it comes into play. It's always an internal process of healing. These addictions are pain avoidance mechanisms. We see the dance position here acknowledged, which is root chakra. Balsamic moon energy. That is what you are downloading. And so you are downloading in various ways, maybe intuitively, maybe in your interactions with people more and more, you're realizing that the choice that is better for you in terms of really focusing on self-awareness as opposed to delusionment in your life is your soul contract. To evolve in self-love and spiritual independence, to be more self-loving, and to assert your own sense of spirituality in your life, and to live it, not just have it as an idea, but to practice it and to mold it into something that's meaningful and that works for you in your life. This is all root chakra stuff. It can feel very ungrounding and very unsettling. But I see in the upper left-hand corner, Sophia, the new moon inner wisdom card. This is telling us that with this heart chakra energy ruled by Venus, which rules Taurus and Libra, that by the Libra new moon, if you haven't already had a very strong sense, since the Taurus new moon, since it's in the past position, most of you have had a real strong sense of your inner wisdom, and the eclipses really worked with you on that in June and July, and confirming that through this inner practice of molding your spirituality and working with this divinity identity, as we see in the present position of the law of destiny and free will. All the law cards are great father cards that have to do with release and letting go. And so what we do is we let go of MDT, shame, blame, and guilt in order to embrace our divinity identity. So this is fifth chakra energy. It has to do with aligning with how you feel and acting on it. And so our emotions are just what we think about how we're feeling. And we can change what we think about how we're feeling at any time. So, for example, in your present expectations, you have Anana, the shadow self. The shadow self may be, well, you're saying that I have rage, Tammy. I don't feel any rage at all. Well, oftentimes when that card comes up, people say, I don't consciously feel any rage. But that's what rage is. It's suppressed anger. And that's a shadow, things that we suppress, things that we don't know about ourselves, or things that we don't want others to discover about us. Now, when we work with our shadow selves consciously, when we work with awareness as opposed to self-judgment and condemnation, we can acknowledge that, you know what, I really am upset about this whole MDT thing. You know, this is really making me feel that there's no way out. You know, if my own mother doesn't love me, no one ever loved me. And we go through that whole gamut of those kinds of toxic emotions, and we let them come up. When we don't allow them to come up, the rage just smolders. And that means that what we're thinking about our feelings is that they're right. I must be unlovable if my own mother can't love me, if it doesn't love me. I must be. And we're not really learning what Great Mother is saying, which is mama drama trauma is a cycle. That means she has it too. So that's what she's thinking about herself too. So if she feels that and thinks that about herself, she can only think about you what she feels about herself, no matter how high the intention may be. At some point, the truth of what has been suppressed will be revealed. And so that is what you need to expect in your present, is that your shadow self, this Pisces full moon, is emerging in order for you to plant the seeds of self-awareness, because the dance position is the acknowledgement card, dancing with your soul contract to evolve in self-love and spiritual independence. That is why we have Mama Drama Trauma. It is an opportunity for souls to grow in the area of self-love and physical and spiritual independence, due to being coerced by our birth mother to love ourselves if we are going to experience it in our lifetime. So your hidden influence is Adi Shakti. Adi Shakti is the primordial womb energy. This energy is really emerging the end of this month when Sagittarius goes into Mula Nakshatra, which is the cosmic womb. So you may not realize that you are coming up to a period where you're going to be greatly assisted with a lot of release, which is quite obvious with the 4 law cards in your spread. These are third quarter moon cards. Third quarter moon is all about release, and release is great father energy because it's conscious. It's based on awareness. And so third quarter moon energy is when we consciously clean up things or clear out things, or we consciously say, okay, well, I'm going to finally, get rid of this relationship or do this. That's third quarter moon energy. And that's the energy that is coming up in terms of you shifting the way you think about how you feel, because there has been an inner wisdom that was seeded back in the Taurus new moon for many of you. If you don't feel that that inner wisdom is something that's carrying you through to now, then stay tuned for the Libra new moon, because Venus rules Libra as well. So acknowledging this opportunity to evolve in self-love and spiritual independence is the shift in thought that's needed in order to really benefit from the release of all of this shame, blame, and guilt around MDT. All these feelings that are making you feel less than the divine child, the great mother, father, God, that you truly are. Now, Sagittarius is 10th house energy for you. And so this has a lot to do with Dharma, your life purpose. It may not necessarily be your daily job. Your daily job might be working at the post office. And if that's not your life purpose, then maybe that's your 9 to 5, but your life purpose really is raising your child. And so all of us have that. Some people, from a Vedic perspective, there are points in our chart that have to do with a particular act, a particular karma that's performed. And once that's performed, our life purpose has been concluded. It might be a matter of giving someone something that they energetically needed, giving someone a stone, for example, or giving someone a hug, or contributing something to a school or something. And once that act is performed, it has cleared a karmic debt. And that was the life purpose of that soul. So it could be, Dharma could be anything, but this 10th house energy for you is where Sagittarius is, and where it will be, where Ketu, the south node rather, will be in Sagittarius in the nakshatra of Mula, which is the cosmic womb. This is a hidden influence that's going to really, really support you in all of this releasing that is going on right now for you. And what is expected in your center position is there to be a huge release around questions about the law of mystery and divine order. All of us have questions about that. All of us have questions about, why is this happening? Why is it happening to me? In the beginning, oftentimes, if we truly have a loving God, why am I experiencing, such a painful thing? It is because we are not seen as weaklings. We're seen as very strong divine beings who are meant to evolve in areas of strength, strength to strength, not weakness to weakness. So that's why the shifting from the external perception of how things, quote unquote, should be to the internal reality of how things are is very useful right now for you, Pisces moon sign people, because you are moving into a greater sense of the law of mystery and divine order. As you see, this is very strong yang energy, root chakra energy. So that again is about soul purpose. That yang symbol is about the soul actually incarnating, entering through the semen into the physical realm. So those of you who may not know what your dharma is, you will, over the next several months, become increasingly clear about that. Now, whether or not you feel strong enough to pursue it and all that kind of thing, again, it's not about that. It's about whether or not there's an internal resonance with it, and you work with the internal resonance. The internal resonance, you feeling something is true and trusting that, that is the path to spiritual independence. That is the path to you trusting that and you focusing your thoughts on that through your divinity identity. Okay, I feel that my true resonance is that I am to work with this school, but I don't know. I don't have a degree. I don't have this. I don't have that. Instead of getting into that whole shame, blame, and guilt thing, which is the pattern and the habit of MDT. See how it shows up in all aspects of our lives. Arresting that pattern to say, This is really what is getting me inspired. And I really aspire to be and to fulfill this life purpose. There's something in me all my life that has said that I need to go down to this school and I need to, whatever, I don't know. But I'm going to trust my guidance about this and do that. You will be given little signs and symbols along the way about what to do. And everything starts off small. That's why the word says, do not begrudge small beginnings. In this process, what needs to be let go is a tendency to people please. So for some of you, there may still be a tendency to kind of make other people feel good in short-term ways, as opposed to really developing a genuine relationship so that in the long term, it's reciprocal. So that there is a dynamic in which you are also considered by others. This is a full moon second chakra card that has to do with really standing your ground and standing your principles in a way that you are totally expecting to be loved, not dictating that a particular person loves you or that a particular situation appreciates you, even the school that you're inspired to help. It's not about that. It's about shifting again the thought so that the feeling, so that you are consciously aligning your feelings with your divinity. That is the work. And that is the work that you're doing. You're consciously aligning your thoughts with divinity so that when feelings come up that do not align with those thoughts, you can shift them through the principles that Great Mother's offering. And of course, the Great Mother Speaks Oracle deck offer is still open until there are no more decks, and we're getting down because we're going to be starting our 8-week tutorial November 3rd. And so sign up for that. It's all a gift from Great Mother while supplies last. And of course, after that, the decks will be for sale because these are messages, each and every one of these cards along your yellow brick road healing journey to shifting those thoughts. Now, in your advice position is Ra. This is the waxing gibbous moon card. It's third eye chakra, and it's about rewards. Your advice is, as you do this internal work of shifting your thoughts, you're going to be rewarded for it. Your gifts, your talents, your abilities, your dharma is going to be activated, and you're going to be able to move forward in your soul expression in your life, which we see clearly in the immediate future position of the law of ego form and manifestation. This is double yin, single yang energy. Based on this download, double yin, of this intuitive guidance from Great Mother about how to work this process. We go through this in the tutorial so that you get it, that you're acting on it single yin in an Akhenaten way. Akhenaten was the first world ruler, the pharaoh, to implement the worship of the one God. That completely shifted humanity. Now, was it easy? No. He was despised by the high priest. Just as Jesus was, the Pharisees and the Sadducees, they didn't like his message of having a direct relationship with God. The priests, they don't like that. You have to go through them. That's why Great Mother wants people to learn how to do their own readings. You don't have to go through me to have a reading. This was something that she channeled for all of us. And so the law of ego form and manifestation is about honoring the ego form that you manifested as. There's a reason that you came here to have the experience that you've had. But there's a life beyond MDT. And this third quarter moon card is about releasing that life through your conscious action, your conscious effort. And to this day, Akhenaten is one of the best known, well-known pharaohs because of what he did. And so when we embody these principles, there is a certain beauty that we have. And your Nefertiti card is the Own Your Beauty card. It is the waning gibbous moon card, which is about the sharing, the thanksgiving, the gratitude for the journey. This is when Dorothy, who's the poster child of Mama Drama Trauma, This is the scene in the movie. This is the card. Each card is based on a scene. The pick cards, the lower arcana cards, 36 of those, 49 cards in total. She brings the broom back to Oz and presents it to him. This is that card. And the broom is what she was told she would have to bring back to go home. She and the three, to get their wishes, they would have to bring Oz, who symbolizes Great Father, back the broom. Now, what does the broom symbolize? Our power. The witch had the power over Dorothy until she destroyed her and took that phallic symbol, speaking of yang energy, life purpose, and that is our life purpose with MDT, to take our power back from the illusion, the sea of forgetfulness of our divinity. Take our power back from that bondage to that forgetfulness and bring it back to Great Father, to the law of our divinity, and say, hey, here it is. I went in there. I went into that dark night and I got it. And that is what you're doing. So own your beauty, Pisces moon sign people. Own your beauty of your journey of you doing this, because the most likely outcome is the law of divine father as a result, this double yin energy. A lot of Great Father energy here. The sun, speaking of Great Father, is in Leo at this time, in Purva Falguni, a very mature Leo energy. And so you're reflecting the light of a very established in oneself energy. And you need to own that and let go of any and everything that doesn't line up with that, even desires that you have that don't line up with that. That second chakra energy here. And in the long-term position with Moses, by doing that, you will be learning to live the law. This is your only gut chakra card. The gut chakra is all about processing emotions. And so you will learn to live the law of that pivoting the thought, that releasing that forgetfulness of your divinity. And when those feelings of abandonment, of abuse, of judgment, condemnation, and feeling unloved come up, shifting that to, but I am a divine child of the Great Mother, Father, God. I am a divine child of the Great Mother, Father, God. So this situation is showing me that. Therefore, my question becomes, how is this situation showing me love? How is this person cutting me off in traffic and almost making me have a wreck? How is that showing me love? Well, as soon as I turned my head, I saw these doves in the tree. And for me, that symbolizes mother. And my thought process up to that was I was just on autopilot on this tape. I was going off. I was just going off on the world. I was going off on everything. And so the world became bigger. The world that I was going off on, became, invaded my space in the middle of this very intense contemplation I was having. But as soon as that happened, I was reminded of Great Mother. And so that kind of practice is what learning to live the law card is about. And by doing that, your most likely outcome, Pisces moon sign people, is Rhiannon. This is first quarter moon energy. It's second chakra energy. You have 3 second chakra cards, Adi Shakti, Ishtar. Now Rhiannon. This is the S suit of self-inquiry. It's Aspire. S is about that self-inquiry. Is it true that this person cutting me off, almost making me have a wreck, is further proof that I'm alone? No, it's proof that you are not alone, because what it made you do is realize that when your focus is on your divinity, you're not alone. When it's not, yes, we're going to kind of unravel and continue to experience those emotions. And so there may be a sense of doubt about your ability to continue on this path. I get a sense there's some exhaustion for some of you with regard to this. And so when we are feeling tired, and Great Mother is saying that your likely outcome is that you will be tired as a result of this, I'm sensing that's what the self-doubt is about. Second chakra is ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter rules Pisces in the Vedic. So that is also an indication with first quarter moon energy, which it's about making the choice, a conscious choice again, to face the challenge of shifting your thoughts when that becomes tiresome. Call on the energy of your inner guru, which is what Jupiter represents, to sustain you. Just simply say, this is hard right now. I need help. Call on your angels, your guides, and your ancestors to help you to continue with your journey. That's going to be your most difficult challenge, because this is very intense work, this full moon in Shadabisha Pisces. Shadabisha Nakshatra is called the Nakshatra of 100 doctors. This is a very healing nakshatra. People born under this are exquisite doctors or exquisite addicts. They fall on one end of the continuum or other, and that is because it is this kind of Aquarian Pisces cusp energy that's about taking responsibility for your gifts to heal humanity or getting lost in the delusionment of humanity and the woe is me, which is very easy to do without overcoming the fears and the challenges that the dark night of the soul can present. But with this reading and 4 Great Father cards of release, you have a lot of support to release. All you have to do is remember to pray. Okay? That is your full moon reading, Pisces moon sign people. Thanks for listening. Have a blessed full moon. And as always, remember, Great Mother loves you, and I do too.
Great Mother speaks. I am Great Mother, Holy Spirit, Yin, Divine Mother, Cosmic.